Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go.
Let's do it.
All right. I think we're
I'm
live.
ready. Let's do it. Okay. Well, welcome then. Hello out there, in here, everywhere. Very excited to be back on today's stream sessions. We have a cool new name since last time I was here. Very excited about that. Steve, is going to change anything?
Sorry?
Is our cool new name going to change anything about our conversation today?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
But thanks for mentioning it. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, we're getting, we're trying to be a little bit more memorable.
Indeed.
So, what do you have planned for us today?
Yeah, so this is kind of following on from the session, I think it was 2 weeks ago, with Mike and Patrick. They were talking about the APIs and going into some technical details, I think. Whereas today we'll be actually showing how the APIs are used. We're only going to talk about two of them, really. Let me see, what are they called? The telemetry query API, which is for querying data, and the streaming writer API for writing data into Quix.
Awesome. Do you want to just give a quick high-level intro to what both of those APIs do before we dig in?
I mean, yeah, really the writer is literally for writing data. You can write events, parameters, and create streams with it. With events, you can define what events you have, as well as writing the actual events. Again, the same with parameters. You can define your parameters as well as actually write the data. And then with the query API, you can basically call lots of endpoints to either get your data, get tags, get events, all sorts of things like that. Basically, pulling data out of Quix.
Nice.
I was also going to mention that I'll be talking about the WebSockets API, which will allow things like Python or JavaScript programs to connect and actually stream data into and out of Quix. So I'll be showing a little streaming demo for that.
Sounds good. Last question before we jump in. At Quix, we talk a lot about our SDK. And so I'm curious, how do these APIs interact with the SDK? What's the difference? When do we use which?
Yeah, so the APIs are good for times when you haven't got the SDK available. So if you're using C#, you can use the SDK. If you're using Python, you can use the SDK. Whereas if you're on an IoT device where you've got kind of a very limited amount of memory available and limited processing power available, you might want to use the API because it's a lot lighter weight. There's a lot less, I mean, I say there's a lot less code. You're really using using HTTP calls, which most libraries support. So you can make HTTP calls from IoT devices, from mobile phones, from websites, basically places where the SDK might not be available.
So APIs when it's not in a language compatible with the SDK, and also when you're dealing with, it sounds like, maybe hundreds of devices.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You could use the SDK for hundreds of devices, but the key is really that you're more likely to be doing an IoT type solution where you've got sort of weather stations deployed in millions of locations, or tracking bikes or scooters or something, where you're not going to be running you're not going to have a laptop strapped to someone's skateboard or someone's refrigeration device or whatever it happens to be. You'll be using a small electronic device with very limited resources, very limited RAM and CPU resources.
Awesome, thanks. So then I'll hand it over to you to show us the nitty-gritty.
Cool, okay. I will share my main screen and then we'll get on with it. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep, crystal clear.
Awesome. So, okay. First of all, I'll show you these two web pages, which are basically, they're called Swagger pages. They're essentially something we've added to our APIs. Swagger is a kind of a third-party tool, if you like, or plugin. And we've added these to our APIs so that people can visit the page and actually see what the API can deliver. So, for example, if we start with the Writer API, as I mentioned at the beginning, you can, for example, define the events that participate in your stream. You can send the events. So if we click on this one, we can basically see that it needs a topic name and a stream ID. This, by the way, is the URL. So you take Writer Quix and then your workspace. So this is my workspace ID, and then we're on platform.quix.ai. So it'd be /topics, your topic name, and all of this stuff, basically. You need to provide the topic name, which is where the data is going to go to, and then a stream ID. So that's kind of like a thing that lives inside the topic. It's for the individual stream. Each time you send some data, perhaps you'd have a different stream per IoT device, for example. But they'd all be going into the, say, weather station topic. So then further down in this page, you've got the data that you need to send. So basically, we need to create an event. We need to send a timestamp, which is a Unix timestamp in nanoseconds form, I believe. You can just use a 1 for testing purposes, but that flags the date as sometime in 1970. But anyway, essentially, Unix timestamp. You can provide as many tags as you like. So, this is one tag. There's three being supplied here. And then for this particular one, you need to supply the ID and the value for the event. And they're both in string, they're both just strings. Further on down, if we look at parameters, if we want to send some parameter data, again, we have to supply the topic name, the stream ID, and then we need to supply timestamp, and this is an array of timestamps. So this API is slightly different, or this parameter data endpoint is slightly different in that you supply an array of values for the timestamp. And then if you want to supply numeric values, you can specify the sort of the name of the property and then the values within, again, the array kind of notation. So if we had 2 timestamps here, we'd need 2 comma separated values in here. Same with the string values. So if you didn't know, or if you didn't see last week's episode, when we're talking about parameter data, we can either have numeric, string, or binary values. And you can also have tag values to kind of go along with that, to augment that. Maybe you're talking about a lap number or some other thing that's relevant to the rest of the data, but doesn't necessarily have to be a parameter.
And all this information goes into one string, right?
Yeah, so all of this is what's called the payload, or the JSON body that is posted to the API endpoint. So this is kind of like the request, if you like.
Awesome.
This is defining data. And then if we go to the query API, we can essentially do the reverse and query that data. So for example, if we wanted to, let's say, return some events, we would, this API is slightly different in that you supply the version, but we've upgraded this API to version 2, so it's a bit sort of cleaner. So you'd essentially just put version 2 in there, but then you've got the same kind of format in that you need to provide some JSON data, or a JSON payload. And not all of this is mandatory. You can probably leave it empty. I'm not sure if I've tried that, but you can supply, say, just an array of topics. You can just have one topic in there. You can supply stream IDs. So that will bring you back all of the parameters for that stream ID or that topic, or however you've set up your requests down here. We can also do, say, get the parameters for a given stream or topic or whatever. And I'll demonstrate this in a mo in this tool called Postman. But essentially, this describes, these pages rather describe the APIs. And if you scroll further down to the bottom, you can see things like, let's say, parameters, there we go. So a parameter will have this structure. It will have a name, a min and max value, that sort of thing. And again, a stream will have topic, stream ID, name, start and end times. So you can see basically the shape of the data that you need to work with. So if you want to build data structures in your code to match these, you can do so. The only other thing to say about APIs is that you need to authorize or be authorized to work with them. So you can do that in this Swagger interface. And to do that, you'd click authorize, you type in bearer, and then you paste in your bearer token. So for example, I mean, this isn't a real token, but you would paste in your bearer token. And I'll show you where to get that from inside Quix in just a mo. But essentially you have to do that. And once you've clicked authorize, and obviously, like I say, this won't work because that's not a real token, but let's say it was, and then you wanted to use this, you would click try it out, click put in 2 for version 2 there, and then you edit your query. So all of this is possible inside this this kind of Swagger tool, although it's a bit, I don't really recommend it unless you're doing kind of the basics. So you form your query and then click execute. And as you see, I probably get an error saying, yeah, there we go. So 401 means basically I've used an invalid token.
Yeah,
it shows you that you can use it.
Hopefully the token's a little more complicated than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D.
Yeah, it normally is. So I was going to say the disadvantage with this is if you reload the page or have to shut down your PC or whatever for any reason, you've kind of lost that. So you can't easily repeat what you're doing. You know, if you've got a bunch of your favorite queries that you want to run over and over again, this is a bad place to do that, because you're gonna lose your settings effectively. But I will show you Postman and talk about Postman in a second. First off, let's find out where we can find that bearer token, because you'll be needing that in Postman, although I've already set mine up so that I don't kind of expose my bearer token. But
safety first.
Safety first, indeed. Right, so if we're in Quix logged in, and if you go to the kind of user avatar picture, whatever this is called up here, and click tokens, then what you can do is you can generate a token with this button. And so I've generated a token. I've generated a few, as you can see, but I've generated a token for this demo. It expires tomorrow by the look of it. Yep. Or maybe even.
Yep. We might be in the race against time right now.
No, it expires tomorrow.
Oh,
this is the created date. Yep. And it expires tomorrow at lunchtime. So if it does get exposed, you know, it's not the end of the world. But basically, when you generate your token, it then displays the token, which is a great big long string of text. And you can then paste that into your API exercise tool of choice into here. And away you go.
Great.
So yeah, so that kind of explains to you what you can access on the API. But yeah, next, if we head over to Postman, which is a tool I often use for building kind of API queries, API calls that I can kind of reuse, and you can even share them. You can export this kind of group of queries, this folder, and share it with people. If there's kind of you've got a bunch of queries you use in your team or something. So this is just an example one. You can see here you've got your URL, which you would copy and paste in from your Swagger kind of definition there. You need to fill in your headers. So we need our authorization token. We need to use the content type of application JSON. And then we also need to specify what we're querying or what data we're sending to the API. So in this case, again, this is just an example, but I've put that we're sending a stream ID of my stream ID. Now, what you can actually do once what you would normally do is click send, but as I said, this is a dummy URL and nothing will work just yet. So what you'd normally do, as I say, is click send, and you'd get a response back, and you'd see whether that was what you wanted or not. Now, what I wanted to show you here was if you click this button called code, what it essentially does for you, this Postman tool, it generates you the code. And now you can choose many different languages. I've chosen Python, but you could choose, say, JavaScript, jQuery, for example. And so that gives you the code that you can then go and reuse and adapt inside your application, or you might copy this into an IoT device and make your API calls, having tested them in Postman. So what we'll do is start using some examples that I've prepared for posting events and parameter data. So let's close that down. If we start with parameter data, what you can see now is the URL kind of more closely matches what we were doing in here. So post parameter data wants topics, a topic name, streams, stream ID, parameters, and data. So what we've got is topics, a topic name, which I've pre-filled in my environment variables inside Postman, and then streams, and then my stream ID, which I've got as demo parameter stream 2, and then parameters and data. So what that should allow us to do is essentially post some parameter data to Quix. Now, it's not super exciting. I'm not sending millions of values a second.
What are you talking about? I find it very exciting.
Thank you. I've got one fan.
I'm here for you.
So what I've got is a couple of timestamps. As I said before, these are Unix timestamps, so it'd normally be some great big long value, and I'll just go and show you. Normally I use this tool called Unix timestamp converter. So what you've got is that is basically now in a Unix timestamp. That is in seconds, but if we add, if we just take that and add 3 zeros, we've now got that in milliseconds. And if we add 3 more zeros, we've got the same time, basically right now, in microseconds. I think there's nanoseconds as well. Yeah. So we've got basically that's now in nanoseconds. And these are nanoseconds since the 1st of January 1970. So that's what Unix time stamps are all about, or a rough guide anyway, for anyone that's not familiar with those. But in any case, you can just use one, because that would be 1 nanosecond since the 1st of January 1970. So these are valid timestamps. They just don't look very convincing. So as I say, 2 timestamps. And since I've got 2 timestamps and I want to specify numeric values, I've also got 2 numeric values. So I've got property 1 and property 2. And I don't know, let's call these 1 and 2 as well. And also 2 string values, we'll call those 1 and, I don't know, call them 10 and 20. So what we can do is click send. And what that does is sends this payload to this URL, and the Quix backend will receive that and store our data into this stream called demo parameter stream 2. And my topic was called demo. So, you know, that was super exciting. I'm sure you'll agree, Kirsten.
I've been on the edge of my seat the whole time.
So what we can do is actually then use the reader, perhaps, and try to get those values that I've just sent in. So that was parameter data. So we can call this, we can use this get data method on the reader API. So again, I'm using my workspace, which is API demos live stream and the data endpoint. And I'm going to change the parameter name to the one that I used before, which was property 1. Oops. There we go, property 1. Ignore the event IDs for now, but if I send that, what I get is my, there we go, yeah. We sent a number 1 for property 1. So if I change that to number 2, we get a value of 2 because that's what I sent for property 2.
Look at that, it works.
So there you go, yeah, super exciting. A live demo worked for a change. That's really good.
Proud of us.
Excuse me. So I think I'll need another drink after that.
Way to celebrate.
Indeed. It's only water, not nothing stronger. So what we're now going to do is send in an event. It's basically the same. It's a different URL, but with the same topic, which is demo, into my same workspace. My stream this time is going to be demo events stream 2. And I'm going to send, again, timestamp of 1. You'll notice here that we're not using an array. So an array in kind of JavaScript and JSON and stuff like that is using square brackets like this.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually only going to send 1 event at a time with this API endpoint. So we have 1 timestamp, 1 ID, and 1 value.
If we can only send 1 at a time, does that create some latency?
I mean, you can send them 1 at a time really quickly. So if we had a loop, or if this was in code, we could loop around this like every millisecond and we could send tons of events.
All right.
And Quix would handle that just fine.
That's fast enough for me, I guess.
Yeah, indeed. It's fast enough for most people. We use, or rather, there's some F1 applications that use, Formula 1 that is, applications that use events and parameters at really high volumes. So yeah, there's no issue with excess latency or anything.
Great.
So I've just created this ID called new event ID 2 and a funky value called change me to something else. And then if we head over to our get data method or API call, and then execute that again, and it has not done what I expect it to, obviously. Event ID 2, let's just make sure those match up. New event ID 2. No, that is right. Okay, so I should have got new event value 2 in there. Perhaps I've got something configured wrong. My topic should be correct. But yeah, anyway, this is an old value in there at the moment. And because I'm under pressure, I can't figure out what's wrong with that right now. It should be, let's just try one more time with a different event ID, like demo event. So let's send that. We've got a status here of, it says okay, the code is 200, which is an HTTP status code. So let's put in our event ID. Let's get rid of that one for now. So there we go, it worked that time. So we've now got our value of change me to something else with our timestamp of 1. So that was with our demo event. We can also do things like get the list of streams that we have currently going on in our demo topic. So we've got here lots of streams, or 2 actually. I think I must have cleaned my workspace out before the demo. So we've got our event stream and our parameter stream that are both currently open because I've been a naughty boy and left them open without closing them.
How dare you?
I know. Someone's going to be after me for something. We can get, I believe, a list of parameters that we've got on our stream. So if I target this demo parameter stream 2, I've been testing here with lots of different things like property 1000, property 2000, demo string, all these things, including the latest ones that we just sent of property 1 and 2. So using these parts of the API, we can essentially figure out what properties are available on the stream, if that makes sense. So if we wanted to build, say, a website where we could select certain stream properties, we could do that. So all this is all really well and good, and we can happily post stuff to Quix, and we can look at them one by one. But I mean, I know you're excited, but really, this isn't that exciting.
How dare you?
I know. So what we're going to do is head into Quix itself again. And if we go back to well, this is the home page, but if we go to the Data Explorer, what we can do is have a look at what streams we've got available. So for example, we've got this demo parameter stream 2 that we just sent some data to. So if we select that, and then we can see what properties are available on that stream. So we've got, say, property 1 and property 2, which we just created. We've got maybe some events. No, they're on the other one. So if we click down on that, table view, turn off aggregation, just in case it's interfering with anything. And we can see there that we've got property 2 contains the number 2 and property 1.
Hey, Steve, you sound like a robot all of a sudden.
Oh, do I? Is that any better? Or just a minute. I probably can't drop off the live stream. Is that any better?
Yeah, a little better.
Yeah, I can switch to a different mic if you needed. Right, let me know. So,
but not good enough. Let me check the live stream real quick to see if you
sure.
also sound like a robot there or if it's my computer.
Yep. Checked it. It does sound robotic. I'll switch to a different microphone if I can. Let's see if that helps, but it could be. The joys of working from home. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah.
It does sound robotic. Is that any better?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't know why switching microphones has fixed it, but anyway, let me know if it occurs again.
Yep.
So as I was saying, we've got our timestamp that we sent in, which, as you can see, is very close to midnight on the 1st of January 1970. We've got our property 1 and property 2, and they've got values 1 and 2, which is exactly what we sent from here. So with that said, what we can do is, we can also look at the event stream, and we can do these both at the same time. Probably. Let's have a look. Events, we've got our event, which was called demo event. There we go. There we go. So demo event, change me to something else. So we've got all of our data there that we sent in from Postman. Now that is probably all I've got to say for the most part on the APIs. I do recommend using a tool such as Postman. You can share your API calls and also get at the code to kind of make it easier to transition from a tool like Postman to actually making this useful in code. And also we've seen how to get at the data inside Quix. One other thing maybe to mention is once you've maybe built your query inside Quix, like we have here with our properties and events and which streams we're interested in, what you can actually do is another way of generating some code is click on this code tab. And as you can see, we've got, say, Python code, or you can generate a curl post here. And you can basically run this curl or run this Python to actually get this data, and you can then sort of change the payload, just like we changed the payloads in the posts over here, in the JSON over here, to alter sort of what you get. So if you had, say, I don't think I can actually change this because we've only got the one. We're only dealing with the 1 second of data, but you can put sort of start and end times and things in here, and run it. So you can copy that code to your clipboard and paste it into your favorite tool. Very similar to working with the code in Postman.
Very convenient.
Yes. So the next thing to probably show you is the WebSockets implementation, or how the WebSockets works. And I've got a little demo to show that as well. So basically, to get started with WebSockets, if you click the help icon, go through to the Quix docs and look for WebSockets. It's normally the first result. And this tells you how to kind of work with the streaming reader API, aka WebSockets. And under the hood, we use a technology called SignalR, which is provided by Microsoft. So basically, there's a few pages here. It tells you how to get set up, and then there's a page for how to read data, an example. So basically, what I did earlier today was took this example and dropped it into a web page on my local machine, which is here. So can you see that okay, Kiersten?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So what we've got is a very simple web page. It says at the top, hello WebSockets, and actually I'll find the web page. It's around here somewhere. There we go. So it says, oh no, it's lovely, isn't it? I'm so good at design. I'm going to knock Matt off his design chair. So yeah, and you can see I've even used a nice bit of green and black to
look at that. See, design.
What
is it? Design is in the details.
Indeed. So yeah, it just says hello WebSockets. There's two little labels for essentially printing out. So it says obviously params will appear here and events will appear here. So watch those spaces. And then essentially what I'm doing is connecting to the SignalR hub, the WebSockets hub that is deployed within the Quix portal. or within the Quix API. So my URL happens to be reader-quix-quix demos livestream. This depends on what you've called your workspace and what you've called your organization. You'll get a unique URL basically inside Quix, or you can substitute your organization and workspace ID for these. You then basically connect and start the client, at which point it will print something to the console which just says it's connected, lets us know it's gone into this bit of the code. And then we're doing a couple of quite crucial things here. We're subscribing to events, and we're also subscribing to parameters. You supply your what's this one? The topic, I think. Yep, that's the topic. This is the stream that you're interested in, and then the events that you're interested in. So I've got S1 as the parameter and event ID2 as the event ID. Later on, I'll also use these two, but for the purposes of this bit, I will send data to these two, and we should see the data appear in there. The last bits are handling the actual data when it arrives. So this bit just says, hey, I'm interested in data that matches these criteria. Quix will register your interest in these. It's like saying, it's like registering for when something comes back in stock, for example. You say, hey, I'm interested in this thing. Let me know when it arrives. And then this is what to do when the data arrives. So when we receive an event or the event data, what we're going to do is basically convert the JSON to a string and display it in one of these boxes. So with all of that said, my web page is up and running. I've refreshed it, and that's running on my local machine. And so if we head back to Postman, and I'll just double check, I'm listening for new event ID2 and S1 on demo parameter stream. So for example, if I go to post parameter data and change this back to demo parameter stream, we should get the value of S1 in one of those boxes. And there it is. So we can see that we've got the string values, S1, and the value is 10. So that was pretty instant. I didn't have to refresh the web page. It just magically appeared in there. Now for the event, I was listening for new event ID2. So if I just put that back to new event ID2, I can then send that. As you can see, I've got new event ID2 there, and then change me to something else. So I could say demo. So there we go. That's refreshed without me refreshing the web page. And we've got Hello Stream Demo.
It's like magic.
I know, it is. It is.
Yeah.
And all of that happens, as I say, without you refreshing the web page. You know, I'm not sat there hitting refresh all the time. As you can see, when I refresh, all that stuff goes.
Mm-hmm.
And when I click send, it magically appears. So as a kind of extension to that, what I've got in inside Quix is a demo project. So if I head to my projects page, and then I've got this API demo data source project. And now all this is going to do is send two parameters, A and B. A is a sine wave, and B is, so that'll be an integer value, and parameter B will be a string value, which will just print out essentially this number that goes from 0 to 3000. So, you know, super exciting data set, as I know you'll agree.
Yep, I'm into it.
And then we're also going to be sending event data. So we'll have a thing called event B, and the value for event B will be this index is, and again, that same number going from 0 to 3000. I'll just double check that I've got it all set up. This is sending to demo data stream. So this is where this kind of second set of subscriptions comes in. I'm sending to my demo, you can see down here, I'm sending to my demo output stream, which I've specified here. And then that's my demo topic, rather. This is my demo data stream, which I've specified here inside my test project. And then I've got my parameter A, parameter B, and event B. So I'll bring that page to the front and this one to the front. So when I click run, what's going to happen inside Quix is it's going to build and deploy this code into kind of a temporary area where where it will run temporarily, essentially. We don't have to deploy it. We don't have to kind of use tons of resources or anything. It will just run that code until the code has been around this loop 3000 times, and then it closes the stream and it shuts down. So I'm just going to reload the web page so that's cleared out. And then when I click run, what we'll see is the console pop up here, and it will say it's sending values. And then, as you can see on the right-hand side, we've got our values, and they're coming in at a high rate, right? We're pausing this code for 1 millisecond. So those values are coming in every 1 millisecond.
Wow.
And so that's comes back to your question earlier about, can I send lots of these in one, essentially, not necessarily in one go, but one after the other. And yeah, we're sending 3000, and there you go, it's stopped. It's closed the stream, and these have stopped updating. And you can basically keep doing that as many times as you like. It's just going to cycle those 0 to 3000 numbers again. You can see here it's saying the index is, so that's kind of where it's up to. All of these are the same. And then, like I said, parameter A is this sine wave. And again, kind of to close the loop, we can go, well, I'll wait till it's gone round. Actually, I'll stop it. And if I start it again, and then go back to Data Explorer, we can then view the data in its live format, I think. All right, if I choose some options. So there we go. There's the data that we're actually seeing appearing both here and here at the same time. And we can see the values there, kind of 0 point something, and that's what we're getting here. So yeah, that is pretty much a grand tour of the inner workings.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, if anyone wants the Postman kind of collection, I can share that. And then all you've got to do is put in your API key. So that will work. If anyone wants the sample little HTML page that uses JavaScript and the Signal stuff, then we can share that.
You're gonna share your designs so freely?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone could really replicate this dashed border so easily. So I'll share my secrets on that one.
You're so generous.
Thank you. Yeah, did you have anything that you wanted me to mention, or?
No, this was really helpful, enjoyable deep dive into 2 of Quix's APIs. Working with the other APIs, is it going to be terribly different?
Not terribly different, no. There's I can't remember. There's one which is the portal API, which kind of allows you to access all of the things that the portal can access. Like, for example, lists of topics. Although you can get that with, I believe you can get that with, there you go. So returns unique topics. So yeah, there's some overlap in the APIs, but there's one called the Portal API, and I've forget the name of the other API. It's in the docs somewhere. I think there's a...
I think if you click APIs,
Oh, yeah.
that might help.
There's a list.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So data catalog, which allows you to fetch data, strangely enough.
There we go.
Lets you fetch data, yeah. And then we've got the streaming reader and writer APIs and the portal API, which I mentioned. So again, there's a Swagger for the portal API. Does that take us to it? Yep.
Great.
So that again will allow you to get things like deployments. There's a bunch of stuff which we've deprecated, so that's going to stop working. But anything that's not crossed out is still good. These things allow you to get things from the library. So if you wanted to say list all of our library items for some reason, you could do that. You could get organizations, something to do with organizations. I'm not sure what that one returns. I haven't used that one before. You could branch projects. You can get project files. There's a whole load of depth to this one. But yeah, there's a whole load of things you can do, and have fun with the APIs basically. And if you need help, give us a shout on the stream.
Yeah, you can leave a comment on the YouTube video. You can find us in the stream Slack, or you can click on one of the many demo buttons on the Quix.io website.
Indeed.
So, thanks so much, Steve. This was delightful. I learned a lot, and I'll talk to you later.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.